So the other thing to note about our reserves, if you looked at our accounts, they give you a message when you compare to other London boroughs that we've got significant reserves. We actually don't. So when you disaggregate our reserves, a large chunk of those are CIL, and they are our capital reserves that you can't use for day-to-day activities. Our actual usable reserves are quite small, yeah, in comparison. So it's just being clear about reserves aren't there for recurring purposes. It's for a sudden shock. So we've had the sudden shock last year. Now we need to make the right decisions to make reductions in our budgets to sustain those pressures or find alternatives to either, mitigate some of those demands on us or find different ways of treating those demands.
I'm glad you mentioned CIL. Obviously, there is quite a large amount of CIL given the extent of development and regeneration that's occurred within the borough. And you obviously highlighted the fact that there are some constraints in terms of how we can spend CIL currently. What would you say to the idea of maybe applying some pressure on the new government to liberalise the way CIL can be used so that we can actually start using it for things that the council needs to use it for?
So in one sense, I wouldn't really want to talk to the government about using reserves at all. So at the moment, the way of the last couple of years in terms of allowing councils to fail, letting them draw down on the reserves, get through to a position where they've got nothing left, it's just not sustainable. So if any message I would have to the government is having long-term funding commitments that are recurring, and it doesn't fall on a council tax base. It should actually be funded nationally in a sustainable way. That's what I'd be asking for.
I understand where you're going with the point about the CIL, but the thing is, right, even if you can use CIL, right, for some of the things for the day-to-day stuff, right, CIL is not it's not unlimited, it's finite as well, right? So until we have a solution that gives us the long-term sustainable funding that enables us to plan for 2, 3, 4 years down the road, okay, I can't rely on CIL all the time because the peaks and troughs of regeneration will sort of follow the amount of CIL that we get, right? So it's not always guaranteed, right? That the amount of work we're doing will continue into the future as well. So I wouldn't rely on just some sort of CIL being used or not being used.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and it's not revenue. It's not going to just keep coming, right? However, I think at Cabinet on Monday, you did say that you were keen for Brent to keep building. You want to see more developments. You want to see us, particularly with the new possible new laws around planning and making it easier for local authorities to actually go ahead and build. We will see more money coming in through CIL. I just want to know how you can justify to local residents when there is a huge amount of CIL, and at the same time, this council will have to cut some of the services that our residents rely on. Why can't we use some of that CIL? And I appreciate at the moment the rules don't allow it. However, would you support the idea of asking the government to change the way that CIL can be spent?
The point you're making about regeneration, okay, right, and whether I want more regeneration to come into the borough, yes, I do. But will it come? Will it happen? Right. Look, the situation at the moment around the supply chain, contractual inflation, the cost of labour, whether or not there is adequate grants in order to facilitate affordable homes, social homes, right? So you can't just say use CIL, right? Because that CIL is just one part of the element of that conversation, right? So there are many facets to local government finance, right? And just making a simplistic statement saying we can use CIL, right, is actually sort of counterproductive to the conversation.
Okay, I'd like to come back on that because I don't think it's a simplistic statement to say that we should potentially consider using CIL. I think your government now wants to make it easier. We have to acknowledge it's now a new government. We've got a new Labour government that are trying to make planning laws easier for local authorities to build. I do think that as leader and your cabinet on Monday did specify that you want to see more building happening, and you will try and make that happen. So CIL will continue to come in the short term. Between now and the government, the Labour government, hopefully offering a long-term financial assessment for local government. And hopefully we do get that so that we can actually start planning with, you know, with more than just 1 year budgets, but longer than that. Would you not agree that this is one way to do it? And how do you just, and also the other question, a follow-up question, how much still actually is there currently?
Just to sort of follow up on that. Once again, right, honestly, Anton, right, you're talking about what could happen, what may happen, what may not happen. Right, and I'm sorry, right, this administration doesn't work like that, right? We work on the facts and the evidence and the data that we have right there in front of us, right? I'm not going to sit here, right, and pluck figures out the air or and hope, right, that we get developers coming in and building thousands of new homes and everything else. Okay, when those developers come in and make the applications, right, and those applications are passed or rejected, once I know the certainty of any of those applications or those developers are going to be coming in, right? Once I have that certainty, then I can take a look at what needs to be done. You already know, right, that we've been using CIL, right, to make the investment in our schools, right? We paid for GP surgeries, right? We're continuing the work, right, to help support communities, right? And CIL has been used, right, in order to support the work of the council and to make sure that we continue to do that. CIL, right, at the moment, once again, right, whether I want it to happen or not, right, it depends on how much CIL comes into the organization, how much is guaranteed to come in for the next year, 2 years, 3 years. Right, then what happens after that? Okay, and it goes back to the fundamental point, okay, about making sure, right, that we have sustainable funding that comes into the council, where we have security of knowing, right, of what is going to be coming in. Right, I'm not going to sit here and say to you, right, that I want to make changes or this or that based on assumptions that may happen or may not happen.
How much CIL does Brent have currently?
I don't have that figure to handle. I'll get back to you.